Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, this joy to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, this joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies. I graduated from learning lies to seek the truth. Indoctrinated to be too blind to see the proof. I once was lost, but now I'm found, so I shine light. And everywhere I go is darkness, so I shine bright.
For nothing is hidden that will not become evident, nor anything secret that will not be known and come to light. That is Luke 8, verse 17. This is Uncommon Ground, and me, I'm WesBlaze, and I want to welcome back with me my favorite contextual content creator, the brother Sean. Thank you again for being here, fam.
Hey, thanks for having me again. It's so much fun tonight, jumping into the truth hidden in plain sight. Bars.
That's right. We're going to be just having some fun with it. So grab the popcorn, get it out, because tonight we got a fun show for you guys. This is episode 29 of season 2, and we do call it Truth in Plain Sight. And no, that's not a typo. It is PLANE, like a flat and level surface, and it is on purpose, right? A little plainer pun for the name for fun. But as always, you guys could be anywhere in the whole flat world, and you're here with us tonight. So for that, we praise God and we thank you. So welcome to the show, and we just want to say what's up and bless some people in the chat. I want to say hi to Wildly Unpopular, Mr. Bears here, Contract One, Lisa Sevier, AD, Tracy Jones, Robert D, Shalom, Shalom, Cat Lady Forever, good to see you, ma'am. Arc Builder CCNC is here, EF Tup World, and then we have Pepper Mandy as well. You see anybody else? Any familiar names?
Back to the Covenants here. Miss Marcia's here. I will not get the Jabba Jabbas here. Miss
Nice.
Mr. Tyler Porter, Miss Peggy D. You know, we've seen throughout the years, we've seen so many more names that have the word bear in them. And I think that's hilarious. You know, I would be Context Bear. I think WesBlaze Bear works perfectly.
I like it too.
So anyway.
Cool. Appreciate it, brother.
maybe we'll do a whole episode one night where we get some bear costumes and we show up like bears. I'll be Context Bear.
We'll toss that idea around for sure. We'll see what the people think. It's good to see everybody. Much love and bless you guys. You've all been leaving us the coolest comments, and we're so grateful. I'd like to put an uncommon spotlight on some of them if we could, Sean.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, would you read the first one? Check it out.
Yeah, so this is our brother from Australia, Deep Holes. He's asking, hold on a minute, Wes. I'm pretty sure in church I was taught I will go to heaven at my passing and live in the clouds. I have to say this version is far superior. The gospel of the kingdom is beautiful, to state the obvious. Lovely visuals, brother, and a big shout out to Brother Ken.
That's right. Yeah, shout out Brother Ken for sure as well. Yep, so Deep Holes, brother. Yeah, you hit it right on the head. The gospel of the kingdom just blows away all the false doctrine, so many of them that we're taught, because it ties into so many aspects of creation, discipleship. And so creation is what we're here to discuss a little bit tonight. And we're glad that you're joining us and you're enjoying it. Bless you.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And then we also have Sherry. You want this one?
Sure. Yeah, Sherry, I don't want to butcher your last name. Sherry L. I'm beginning your episodes, guys. I'm blown away with your joint uncommon knowledge. I miss Rob Skiba, right? So very much. And I'm over the moon to find you. Shalom to your homes and to yours as well, Miss Sherry. You are appreciated, ma'am. Kind of you.
Yeah, we miss Rob S too. We really wanted him to be able to be a guest on Uncommon Ground before he passed. But hey, Wes, I'm not making an official announcement, but we are going to be doing something to bless Rob here in the coming weeks. So you guys be looking out for that. So anyway, we miss Rob. Yeah,
we do.
We miss Rob.
Absolutely. Wishing we could work with him.
Yeah.
That's right. So next comment from Howard Sanford. What does he say?
Mr. Howard Sanford. He's been a faithful viewer for many years. Appreciate you, brother. He says, I don't know what I liked better, the music or the lyrics or the visual. Strong message, brothers. Thank you, sir.
Howard, you're so kind, brother. I don't get a chance to reply to all your comments, but you do comment so frequently, and they're always just full of joy and blessing. So we bless you back. Appreciate you, brother.
All right.
Yeah, last time we gave a update on our project that we've been doing. We've been letting you guys know from the start of season 1, episode 0.5, we were talking about this, the Firmament Project, and we have come so far with the help of a couple brothers, viewers of ours that have, seen what we were doing, heard about the project that we had in mind, and immediately jumped to action. And it's just been the hugest blessing to see how faithful they are in wanting to contribute and wanting to make this a reality. And so the last time we gave you guys an update towards the end of the episode, I figure let's catch you guys while you're all here and show y'all what we've been working on with the Firmament Project. Here's a little update for you guys. Check it out. Man, special thanks to our brothers Nick and Eric for sure. And I'm just super thankful because it's like every time it's a good time to give you guys an update, the Father just orchestrates it to happen and he puts it on the heart of our brothers Nick and Eric. Nick at Funky Monkey Painting and doing so much over on it. And it's just great to see it coming together. What do you think, Sean? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, it's going to look beautiful. And that clay impression there, that's actually, we're hoping to find an artist to help us paint this. As well. So just in case people are wondering, to be more distinct, you see the land masses, the between the water and stuff. But we actually had to limit ourselves because we're thinking about, man, we need to make multiple models to show all the things that are described in scripture that go into the creation model that work harmoniously together. For us men who are just trying to make a small model out of it, it's like, so if anyone's out there that's watching the show and you actually, are a toy train enthusiast, because usually people that are hobbyists for toy trains, they actually, they have familiarity and all the skill set to paint small items like that. Please reach out to us. We would love to speak with you. And, hopefully.
Because we might even get something 3D printed to replace that clay, make it a little uniform and more professional. But we would need some painting help. And especially if you guys are familiar with anybody who's familiar with making those kind of dioramas where it's like in a resin, or you got the little sprinkled grass, like those videos you get stuck watching on Facebook sometimes of those people making those things. That's cool stuff. Yeah. So we'd love y'all's help. And furthermore, there's a Firmament Project meeting that is now available for our Patreon members. Some exclusive behind the scenes content. We just did another Patreon or another Firmament Project meeting the other day with Nick and Eric. And that was a great conversation, about 45 minutes of bonus content for you guys. So big shout out, big thank you to everybody who is supporting us on Patreon. We want to let you guys know that as well as other behind the scenes content is available. There's probably about 5 or 6 Firmament Project meetings now. When you say, Sean?
Yeah, I think there's 6 now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So a whole bunch of extra bonus content. And, we probably had the meeting for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, something like that. But, you see the thought process we get to go to and trying to figure out, all right, no one's ever done anything like this. How are we going to try to create a first working model and have it represent as much as we can for the moment, with limited it's an experiment. The whole thing's an experiment, right? We're just
Right.
testing and trying to show things that are happening in a functional way without being able to truly recreate an entire firmament structure as the Lord created. So
Right. That's right. Yeah.
it's really just all humbling in general, right?
It
The
is.
whole thing. It's just humbling.
It just makes you realize how just great and amazing the Father is to be able to have designed it so carefully and perfectly to where it all works together in sync like it does, because we're struggling just to get some of the minor details fleshed out in a model, right? But yeah, y'all go check that out. Big thank you to the Patreon supporters. If you're not a Patreon supporter yet, that's a serious reason to consider becoming one, because not only do you get those behind the scenes content, there's a shirt that comes along with a certain tier level if you're set up with. After a few months of being a subscriber, you guys get a shirt out of it. Otherwise, there's links in the description below to that, as well as our Uncommon Ground t-shirt store, where you'll be able to find those kind of shirts for your purchase as well. If you'd like to get some swag to represent, we appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Oh, last thing too is that to everybody that has ordered so far a season 1 USB jump drive, you are going to be getting a sticker complimentary coming along with that while supplies last. There's a thick stack of them there. Links in the description below for instructions on how to get that. If you guys want to give a gift to us, we're going to return a gift to you of that USB jump drive of season 1 with a couple pieces of bonus content on it as well. And those of you who have ordered it, it will be shipped out tomorrow. The first batch of them will be. Yep.
That's exciting. That's good, man. So yeah, I think that's all of our announcements, right?
Yeah. That's the UG Love segment.
So guys, tonight we want to talk about the truth hidden in plain sight, and we're excited for you to join us, and hopefully you'll stay till the end.
It's the edge of the world and all of Western civilization. The sun may rise in the east, at least it settles in a final location. It's understood that Hollywood sells Californication. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
The earth was flat, if you went too far you would fall off. Now the earth is round, if the shape change again everybody would have start laugh. The average man can't prove of most of the things that he chooses to speak of, and still won't research and find out the root of the truth that you seek of.
Shout out Miss Morgan, wildly unpopular, helped us out with the the new profile pic. I saw the thumbnail that we made there, right, with the painting sketch looking version of us. Morgan helped out with that. I saw somebody asking if that was a sketch that we had made for us, but no, it's just an app. I'll warn you, there's a lot of things being said and rumors flying around about that app, but it looked cool. Morgan had it, made it, and she didn't have any problems with it, so we appreciate it.
I just think it makes everybody look like they get Bob Ross painted them, you know?
Yes. That's funny. You should bring up Bob Ross. We have him quoted later on in this episode.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, painting happy little flat earths.
Water's always level. It's going to be a good one. Yep. We're going to have fun. Like I said, you guys get the popcorn out because we got a lot to show you. We're going to sit back, pull the TV into the classroom, and we're just going to watch some stuff with you guys. It's not going to be Bill Nye either. Not today. What do we got first on the agenda? We try to lead with some scripture when we can, right? God's word is proprietary. So the Romans chapter 1, 18 through 22 is what we're going to read. Would you read this first one?
For sure. Yeah. It says, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because that which is known about God is evident within them, for God made it evident to them.
That which is known about God, God makes it evident, and his wrath is revealed. Cool. Okay. There's people though who you're good. There's people who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. That always gets me because we can see that, can't we? The topic of this show is a example of that. Well, Romans 1 goes on to say in 20 through 22, he says, "For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. Let me read that one more time. That's powerful. Since the creation of the world, guys, his invisible attributes, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. For even though they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks, but they became futile in their speculations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools. Wow, that's really powerful to me, because it's in, it's like the Father puts things in plain sight, right? He declares his truth and makes it evident in all of creation through what he's made, so that we're without excuse. That's super powerful to me.
Yeah, that's a powerful verse when I came to the understanding of biblical cosmology and how the Father created everything. And I started to realize how much, how to say this, throughout ancient history, and how there were different creation models in ancient history that had the general premise of what the Bible describes, but they just changed details here and there. And of course, ascribe those details to false gods. And in the modernity, we also see men who reject God professing something called panspermia, and they say they don't know how we got here on the earth. Now we know how the earth was seeded with life through the evolutionary process that they also invented. So they just come in with this panspermia idea to say, oh, it must have been another super powerful being out there that seeded Earth, but they won't, of course, acknowledge what the creator says. Yeah, they try to make it mysterious and that there's another, but they would refuse to acknowledge the God of Scriptures and what he said he created the place we live in. So it's very interesting how they're intimately tied together. The futility of their speculations, they become fools instead of wise.
Right. And since I recognize the aspects of creation that we're now familiar with and trying to show you guys about with this series, it was for me just to remind y'all the stepping stone that the Father used to bring me to the faith that I have. Right. I had that mustard seed, and I had a lot of doubt, but I came to a time in my life where I was ready to start taking faith seriously. And next thing you knew, he was using the aspect of biblical cosmology, having me look at all the science of the conspiracy and the lies first, and then bringing me to realize, oh, wow, his scripture has been telling the truth about this topic the entire time. And now I'm without excuse, because the things of God are evident to me, just by his creation.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And so this is one of those things that the ancients, like I said, they kind of felt the same way that we now come to the realization in the 21st century. They felt that same way in the 19th century, even to the point of creating paintings like this.
Yeah, right. It's called the Flammarion engraving. It's from 1888, and the artist is unknown. Right. It's ascribed to a Frenchman who put it in a book, but even he admitted that he didn't paint it or engrave it, and he didn't cite the artist, but it's become pretty popular, right? It's even described on Wikipedia. If you look at the description under it, it says a traveler puts his head under the edge of the firmament. Now, coming to a fuller realization and understanding of how a heavenly celestial body versus an earthly dust body is there's a difference there, right? You have to have a heavenly resurrected, immortal, glorified body to be able to go out the firmament, but somebody depicted that because odds are they recognized that we live in an enclosed system with a dome ceiling over our heads.
Yep, that's true. And then, of course, we got the Freemasons. They've been showing you what they teach their initiates for thousands of years.
That's right. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what you think about this. But yeah, this is a prominent symbology, a set of symbols that Freemasons use. This is depicted in a lot of their literature, their manuscripts, as well as in their art that they'll use, like in their lodges, right? Their grand halls and whatnot. And it's got a lot of symbolism. There's guys out there that could tell you what every one of them mean in detail, but just with the obvious, just based on the surface of what we can see, there's an arch representing a dome. It's got a sun and moon in that dome. It's got the all-seeing eye, of course, which is representative of the authority that they are subservient to. But then you got a flat and level floor with a coffin underneath. Appears to represent like death underneath a flat plane. Almost like a Sheol representation, huh? But yeah, these guys are famous for what they like to call revelation of the method, which we'll look at what some authors have said about that here shortly. but they love to put the truth out in plain sight, and I think this is one of their examples of it.
Yeah, it's interesting that they have 6 firmaments and the 4th layer is blacked out.
Really?
So,
I didn't notice that. There's 6 lines there.
Yeah, there's 6 of them here, and then the 4th layer is blacked out, and it just makes me wonder if, it just makes me wonder. And of course, you know, like I try to show in the Investigating Babylon series, the LCNI is underneath all those firmaments. You know, now I don't believe the sun and moon are also underneath them as well, but I just think that's interesting that it's trying to show mastery, in my understanding of the LCNI representing Ra, trying to show mastery over the sun and the moon and the stars, which is why he's above them, but yet he's still under the firmament. So that's interesting.
Exactly. Yep.
So, and
Right
it looks
out
like
there in the-
Noah's Ark on the bottom left.
Oh,
See the
yeah?
boat on the bottom left.
That is what that looks like. Interesting.
That's pretty weird.
Well, we have an author named Michael Hoffman here, who was fairly famous in certain circles, talking about secret societies, psychological warfare. And that's the name of this book, Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare, where he was discussing, conspiracies back in his day in the 90s. This was written in 1992. And I'll start off by saying, the revelation of the method, he says, this alludes to the process wherein murderous deeds and hair-raising conspiracies involving wars, revolutions, decapitations, secret archaeo-astronomic deity cult worship, and every manner of horror show are first buried beneath a cloak of secrecy, and then, when finally accomplished and secured, slowly revealed to the unsuspecting populace who watch, deep frozen, as the hidden history is unveiled in the circulation of anti-academy manuscripts. The revelation of the method is accomplished. What does he go on to say there, Sean, on the next one?
It says, in the meantime, exposure itself does not defeat the cryptocracy.
Can we define that word real quick? I had to look it up too. It's a form of government where the real leaders are hidden or merely unknown.
Yep.
It's also synonymous with a puppet government
or shadow cabal.
Yeah,
shadow government. I think, but that's conspiracy stuff. We don't believe all that, right? That's all conspiracy. I'm sure that's fake and made up.
They just have a name for it, like it's a real thing, cryptocracy.
Have an actual word for it.
Yeah,
the cryptocracy. Because given the degraded and atrophied nature of modern man's perceptions and insight today, such revelations may only serve to strengthen the cryptocracy's mental hold. The record shows that the recent revelations of occult crime have almost never been accomplished by arrests, prosecutions, convictions, and punishment of the initiates involved. Hence, the reputation of Academy invincibility is heightened by the revelations.
I think the next slide will help make a little more sense of that too, just in the sense that exposure without action against the perpetrators of the crimes revealed devolves into a kind of perverse advertisement for the prowess of the cryptocrats, who are seen as having performed fantastic feats of criminal enterprise with a genius that renders them immune from the consequences. The entire process as a whole smacks of that familiar occult control device of grotesque mockery of the principle touted, in this case, of the notion of exposure leading to punishment and retribution. So what this author here is saying is that they get away with heinous, terrible things and lies and conspiracies, and then they turn around and show you hints of it and reveal the truths in little ways here and there. And the fact that they get away with it and it's not accompanied with prosecution, arrests, any kind of charges against these conspirators.
Johnson Pfizer. I'm sorry, what was that?
Pfizer. Yeah. The fact that they get away with these kind of things and that nobody, does anything about it is a form of mockery. Yeah.
Are you saying that's happening in the modern day? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
It's AstraZeneca. I mean, astronomical how
that is crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
That is just Fauci task. I mean, fantastic for them to figure that process out.
That was wild. We did all that just off the head, didn't we? That was not written, you guys.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It really is. There's one more here.
Oh, there's more?
If
okay.
You would.
Yeah. The alchemical principle of the revelation of the method has its chief component, a clown-like, grinning mockery of the victims as a show of power and macabre arrogance. When this is performed in a veiled manner, accomplished by certain occult signs and symbolic words, and elicits no meaningful response of opposition or resistance from the targets. It is one of the most efficacious techniques of psychological warfare. This ceremonial nose-thumbing, this perverse jesting and clowning, is taken to the highest level of intensity by the truth or consequences principle, which ultimately hinges upon the issue of consent. They literally mock you. They
do
literally mock you. Yeah, it's a part of their process. They want to mock you.
It almost, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It almost goes beyond fiction just to like predictive programming even, right? They're not just deceiving us, they're showing us that they're deceiving us. And it's like there's an occult belief that they have to tell people what they're hiding and what they're doing so that there's some deceptive form of consent so that they can feel justified in their actions, I guess. And so they do it through the medium of media, publications, every aspect of pop culture where it can be easily passed off as just fiction or artistic expression rather than actual truth hidden right under our nose. So it definitely feels more like a ritual kind of victim mockery and taunting to me.
Right. Like, you know, when the Red Bull jumper went up to high altitude and they showed a flat Earth, and then suddenly it's the entire state of Arizona is the entirety of the Earth's circumference suddenly. So like, you know, just little things they would tease into stuff. And we're going to look at a lot of those in film and media tonight.
We are. Yeah. And publications and literature and cartoons and video games. And we got the whole slew. I try to bring all the best of the best together for you guys. And so let's start off with a clip here. And I feel like it's time for a commercial break. What do you think, Sean?
It sounds good to me.
Let's do a commercial break for the people. Check it out, you guys.
Also elaborate.
When you have apartments to fill, strategy is mission critical. I need a renter like this fella. Or this lady. She has got pizzazz.
I think this is also unnecessary. You should list on apartments.com. It's free, it's easy, and we have millions of renters. Watch this.
It's raining renters.
No. Sorry. I'm a certified rainmaker. The University of Port-au-Prince, 74. Change where you list your apartments. Change the world.
It's just a cough. Yeah, right. And the earth is flat.
Treat your cough seriously with Robitussin CF Max.
Alexa, turn down the thermostat.
Okay, turning down thermostat.
Ready. Here we go. What do you think people did before Alexa?
Alexa, turn the temperature down 2 degrees. Thank you, dear.
Alexa, tell me a joke.
Jokes. God, you think I know loads? Look at me.
Next.
News! Get your news here!
Alex, what's today's news?
Doesn't matter. It's all fake.
It's all fake.
Lexi, tell us something interesting. Okay. The earth is flat, and a witch stole his pants.
Maximus, send this message to Prince Constantine.
Alicia, remind me to delete those tapes.
Yes, Mr. President. I ain't deleting.
Yeah, I don't know what people did before Alexa.
Joe wonders if this is working from home or living at work. Emma has discovered that she likes dating Mark's profile more than she likes dating Mark. Dustin bought a book on climate change, but it's shipped from England by plane, wrapped in plastic. Now he's confused. Jason stumbles into a real-life conversation. He can't mute, he can't turn off his camera, he can't pee while he listens. Confused. Terrence knows he should sneeze into his elbow, but isn't everyone bumping elbows? He's confused. These are confusing times, which is just about the right time to have the Burger King Impossible Whopper. A Whopper made without beef that tastes just like a Whopper.
All right, so we got to talk about that Augusta Picard. There's a Hennessy commercial, right? And he was showing, you're muted. He was showing it looked like a flat Earth at first, right? And then it's showing like a dome above him, and then he goes up through it, and it's water, and then it transitions into his sun because it was paying homage to Augusta Picard's first flight to the stratosphere, right? He was aboard a parachuted or a weather balloon type of shell, right? He was in a shell attached to a weather balloon, and he was able to go up. I think he only went up.
It's also called a suicide mission.
Suicide mission, yeah, because he went up. They say he went up 55,800 feet is all, right? So some airplanes go higher than that, but yeah, that was in about 1930, 31. Because if you go to the next slide, he had his findings, and there was an interview with him published in a magazine called Popular Science there in August of 1931. And yeah, that's a picture of Auguste Picard with his suicide ship there in the background behind him.
Yeah.
And
yeah, the actor that they chose for that commercial is much manlier, but yeah, still, that was crazy. I was brave of him. Look at that collar, bro. That's a priestly collar if I've ever seen one. What was going on in 1930s, man, with men's fashion?
I don't know.
It's like anyway, I'm sorry, I got distracted with that collar. It's like a neck brace for giraffes. What is that? Okay, anyway, so this guy, yeah, he was brave to go 50,000 feet back then. That was a pretty big deal because the air pressure does change. And that's why he had to have enclosed capsule like you see behind him. That's important. In fact, we should do a show on that in the future as far as like high altitude pilots, and they have to wear specialized suits because the air pressure changes so much and it puffs them up and they can barely move. You know what I mean? So like,
okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just, another thing to debunk everything NASA says. But it's interesting that this guy was willing to do this. And because it's 1931, Wes, he gets to get away with it because space, the airspace above us was not yet militarized. So this is where they started this process later with NASA to say average man can't go up past a certain height. So it's only for commercial airline traffic, and then anything above that, like they don't want the average person just putting themselves in a weather balloon and flying up to 100,000 feet.
No. Right.
Yeah.
That's why you have to have a pilot's license. You have to have certain clearance to be able to do certain things. And it's almost like they have a regulation for the type of camera you can use to be able to use on a weather balloon, a high altitude, anything, right? They almost require a fisheye lens of a GoPro type of camera that would distort it and cause it to look like a curvature when there's not one there. But this guy, if you would go to the next slide, there's some truth in plain sight here, I feel like, because in this magazine, they printed this interview with him and his words that he has to say about when he went up to the upper stratosphere there. They say he had something interesting on the next slide that I have zoomed in and highlighted, where he says it seemed, in reference to the Earth, through portholes, the observers saw the Earth through copper-colored, then bluish haze. It seemed a flat disc with upturned edge.
I wonder what the mayor of Zion, Illinois thought about that.
Right. That's a good little detail to look up.
He was dancing in Zion, Illinois, the one and only flat Earth city of the United States in the early 20th century.
Yeah, because he was in the 20s and 30s, right? That was around the same time. I'm sure he was having a field day with that. But yeah, it would be odd. He did mention, the word globe and refer to the Earth as a spherical nature in this article as well. But it's an odd thing to say, based on his own observation with his own senses. He determined that it seemed a flat disc with an upturned edge. So from
Wes,
55,000 feet.
When I was in 7th grade and I first tried out for the basketball team, and you had to go to that rack where all the basketballs are being held, you can pick them off that three-tiered rack. I never looked at those basketballs and thought, oh, look at all those flat discs with upturned edges. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? These words should never come out of your mouth if you truly are hovering above a globular Earth.
All right. Yeah, that kind of puts a damper on the idea of anybody saying, because we hear that claim a lot, that I've seen the curvature of the Earth from an airplane. You can't see it at 55,000 feet. You can't even see it at 120 to 150,000 feet, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson when he was commenting on the Red Bull Baumgartner space jump.
Right.
He's saying you're only an inch above this beach ball. You won't be able to see any curvature. It looks flat. So yeah, even he was saying that at 55,000 feet from just the porthole of a little spherical craft that they developed on this weather balloon. But I thought that was really interesting.
Some of our audience right now is quoting Job 38:14, talking about it is the earth being turned as clay to the seal, and it stands as a garment. So, Wes, what do you think would be the upturned edges?
Yeah, so we covered in episode 4, season 1, Uncommon Ground, right? Antarctica, the ends of the earth. And I'm pretty sure we mentioned in that episode that on average elevation, the continent of Antarctica, which we now know as the Antarctic Circle, encompassing the oceans, bordering the ends of the earth, that has the highest elevation. It has the highest elevation of all the continents. So it would make sense that as that's the outer edge, it looks upturned to someone that high up.
Yeah, that's the way I could imagine it easily. So it's very interesting because there were also maps from the 1800s that depicted the earth like that as well.
There it is.
Very true. Interesting.
Correct. We got a lot to get to tonight. I'm want to show you guys. Yeah, we've heard a lot about these guys here in the past 2 years, haven't we? This name of this organization has come up quite often. That's right. And lo and behold, anybody can verify this, that their logo is really reminiscent of another logo we'll look at here in a minute, but they have a whole series of logos. This one in particular, World Health Organization, uses you don't call that the what do they call it? The caduceus? That's not a caduceus.
It's not quite the caduceus. Does that say world? I thought it said the World Hitler Organization. It does say health, doesn't it? Oh,
yeah, it's supposed to be health, I think. They're doing terribly. No, it's more like a communist organization, but they got that serpent there wrapped around a pole right over the middle of an azimuthal equidistant map, which is by all means a flat earth map.
And it's wrapped in the Greek wreath crown of Zeus, guys. That's the crown of Satan. That's what that is.
There you go. Now you know.
Yep.
But they're not the only
same
one.
thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually represented often. The International Maritime Organization. It's the same thing, just kind of decorated to be more navalish, more maritime-ish.
Yep.
And what's this one?
Oh, International Civil Aviation Organization. I like how they got all the languages right. You got English, Spanish, Russian, probably Chinese or Japanese, and then Arabic. But same design. They just added some aviation wings on it. Gave it some wings.
Yeah, and apparently it was organized and created by a dyslexic Italian because they're spelled chow wrong. So anyway, sorry for the dad jokes. Here we go.
Wouldn't be Uncommon Ground without it. World Meteorological Organization. They had to go and put what is that symbol up top? Would you say that's supposed to be representative of the North Star?
Yeah, that what do they call it? The Sailor's Star or whatever it is. It's a maritime star, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, because as we covered in, what was that, episode 2, Geocentricity, No Sphericity, that there are a multitude of instruments that mariners, as well as meteorological scientists and all kinds of people that are doing navigation, are able to use the stars in their fixed coordinates and locations to do navigation, because you can rely on those same stars to be in the same spot, year after year. So it's interesting. And keep in mind that North Star is directly above the North Pole and never moves. It's situated and fixed as the pole star. And you would think that it would be a lot different, that we wouldn't observe it that way if the Earth were really shooting around the sun were shooting through the galaxy, and the galaxy was shooting through outer space, as it's all expanding as they try to tell us it is. But that's another show. We've covered some of that. And there's a whole slew of other organizations under the United Nations, right?
Yep, that's right.
They all have the same Satan wreath crown around an azimuthal map, and they've separated the Earth into 33 sections.
They have.
Notice that?
Yep.
33 is one of their favorite numbers.
Yeah, there's so many ways they could have done that from a bird's eye view to try to show, the longitude, latitude concepts, and they didn't even properly represent the longitude, latitude ideas. I mean, this is just clearly intentionally designed.
Yeah. And keep in mind, too, that in all of these logos and all of these maps that they use, the continent of Antarctica isn't really represented. It's kind of as we would understand it, it's implied by the outer ring, but they don't have like a landmass depicted.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff about these logos here. But yeah, 33 is a Masonic number, but they got this map separated into 33 pieces for the United Nations. So I wonder if the United Nations have any connection to Freemasonry and that kind of society of sorts. Let's look. Maybe there's something else that'll give us an indication.
I think they might. Oh, look at this. Here's a whole building wrapped in sixes around the wreath of Zeus and showing the flat earth concept. Showing a flat enclosed, by the way. In fact, that could just be a representation of the dome.
It could be. You're right.
Just the mockery that they always talk about,
Right. It reminds me of CERN almost too, like just the way those lines are angled. But yeah, those are definitely 6 backwards 6s wrapped around it that this building is.
Oh, I'm sorry, Wes. I was talking about the 33 longitude and latitudinal display around the continents. I was thinking that could be the representation of like a dome.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, like the grid lines.
Like a top-down view of the dome over the continents, that could be why they put that there. So it's interesting design. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it is. No worries. I got you now. What else do we have to show the people? So, Mankind's Struggle for a Lasting Peace is the name of this piece of artwork that is found in the UN Secretariat Conference Building. And this artwork was commissioned in 1953. This is just a zoom in of the top of it, where there's clearly that same map atop what starts to kind of look like a domed structure that this shirtless gentleman is hunched over.
Yeah.
But if you would zoom out on the next one, it'll show you, maybe they're building the globe lie.
Wow, it's shirtless creepy time here.
It is.
They got their Foucault's pendulum.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, Foucault pendulum idea. Yeah, I'm sure they're all at fault for that. And then he's got the multiple hands. That's a ancient callback to the ancient Hindu gods with the multiple arms coming out. And of course he's at the top of the dome. So it looks like they're constructing a dome. So it's pretty wild. Right.
Yeah, I figured it was a plumb bob. I didn't think of the Foucault pendulum, but yeah, plumb bob is.
Isn't that just is what a Foucault pendulum is, right? It's just a big plumb bob that they pull back and swing, and then tell you that it's the motion of the Earth causing it to swing.
Really though, yeah.
It's literally what you would do to full kindergartners,
right?
And grown men go to be entertained by it. It's just crazy.
Sideshow gimmick. We'll definitely have to break down the Foucault pendulum in a future episode. It's come up a couple times and we haven't really covered it. But yeah, even if it were just a plumb bob, that's something that's used to measure a flatness of sorts for leveling when doing construction. So there's that for that slide. All right, so back to the United Nations again. This is their General Assembly Hall in one of their headquarters in New York City, New York. So both on this massive, disc in the inset and the inlay in the wall, and on the bottom there on the podium that they stand at, they got that map in plain sight. But what else is there about this room of this building that they're in?
Well, the whole thing has a roof designed to look like a dome. And it's got this peculiar white thing at the center of that. So it's pretty interesting.
It really is, especially if you've seen Investigating Babylon on Kingdom Cast, as we've mentioned several times so far about that series. Blew my mind just to understand what's really going on. But they love the symbolism, and they cannot help but put these kind of domed ceilings in their buildings with what appears to be stars in it. And then you got the map, of course, to tie it all together.
Yeah,
it's right under your nose.
Right. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is the same building that has a meditation room with a literal stone altar in front of a artistic painting of Molech. Like, it's like right in your face, guys. Just right in your face.
It really is.
Oh, what is that painting in the background there? Is that a artistic impression of a dragon on the wall?
It very well could be. I didn't notice it.
Yeah, interesting.
I wish we could zoom in on it. I'll have to check it out. But what I thought was, go ahead.
That ceiling is not a skylight. That is absolute intentionally designed.
Right. Yep. Made to look dome-like for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost mockery of the populace, mockery of the creator.
Yeah. And that symbol, just for everyone listening, that symbol in the center of the domed ceiling, the white with the black dot in the middle, that is literally the symbol of Ra from ancient Egypt. So it's, again, they have the wreath of Zeus, who Zeus was the Greek equivalent to Ra of ancient Egypt. So they have the wreath of Zeus, or we should say the wreath of Ra, and also his literal Egyptian symbol and hieroglyph to Ra, which is above their head. What is the all-seeing eye in Freemasonry, right? It is the eye of providence, the same eye that is on the dollar bill, the same one that is in, what is it, Annuitas Coeptus, he who sees our endeavors with favor. I think
Undertakings, yeah.
Our undertakings, yeah. And it's not talking about Yahweh the Most High. It's talking about Zeus or Ra. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, this is it's a whitewashed, fancy, sterilized representation to the masses of occult beliefs. They just, that, like Wes was explaining, they hide with symbols their true beliefs. And this is how they can mock you, by getting away with things according to their belief set while telling you they're not doing that. Right? Like in May of 2020, when a certain particular doctor stood on the podium and announced to the United States people that these jabby jabs probably won't be effective at all, but we're going to push them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's that blatant.
Right. And then they distract the populace with meaningless things while, certain companies release adverse reactions of 9 pages of lists of terrible things that they've proven are the results of their jabby jabs. But
yeah, to the point where that now even the corrupt FDA is having to pull those medicinal injections from the market because of their adverse reactions, but no one cares because they're so concerned about Amber Heard pooping on a pillow.
Right.
I mean, for real, that's the distraction they put in front of you.
It really is. Yep. And they're making sure you see that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Make sure everybody knows
that. That's right.
Hey,
we need to do something with that. We need to make a meme out of that for sure, man. We get like Neil deGrasse Tyson getting the sun slapped off of him.
Yeah.
It'd be so good.
Is that somebody just typed 99 cents, or was that a super chat we got? I wanted to say thank you if so. I couldn't tell.
I don't. Yeah, I think it's a super chat. It is highlighted blue. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you, Luke. You're appreciated.
Appreciate that.
Good stuff. So I had to go ahead and show you guys that the Masonic Grand Lodge of Japan, and this isn't the only one. This is just one of the more elaborate and pretty full, designs that they have for these rooms and these grand halls and lodges that they make for the Masons in their temples, they'll call them. It's the same exact layout as the General Assembly Hall of the United Nations.
So wait, this is in Japan. Are you saying to me that the Masonic Freemason initiate cult is in more than countries than England and America?
Oh yeah, worldwide, brother. Yeah, literally in every city I've ever lived in, there was just about a Masonic lodge.
That's
just around the corner, posing as a boys' club because at the lower levels it is.
Wasn't it in 2004 that for some weird reason presidential candidate John Kerry decided to make a spontaneous trip to Antarctica to go to a Masonic lodge in Antarctica?
Yep,
seems like a weird campaign trail.
Yeah. Who were they trying to rally there? Makes you wonder. Thank you, Yoli.
It's crazy.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate the super chat. He says, thanks, guys.
Hey, can you go, everybody notice real quick, you have the arrangement of the seating, right? On either side of the room, there's these seats that face towards the center. Will you go back about 2 slides? Boom. Same thing on the outer edges, right? You got the audience kind of in the center facing the podium, but then you have lines of chairs on both ends facing the center.
Yep.
How about that? And the dome with the stars and the arches and all that.
Yeah.
Right in your face. And that kind of looks like an altar they have in the center of it too, isn't it?
Absolutely. Looks like an altar, doesn't it? It's pretty amazing. So if there's anyone in the crowd that has escaped from Freemasonry and would like to do an interview with us, please reach out to us at Uncommon Ground email, uncommongroundshow@gmail.com. That's uncommongroundshow@gmail.com. So yeah, you're welcome to reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you and potentially put you on.
Please do send it our way. Even if you don't want to be on camera necessarily. We'd love it if you would, but like for whatever reason, we would love to accommodate you to get your testimony out there. If it's something the Father has compelled you to start putting on your heart to want to talk to people and get the information out there, we'd love to have you. Thanks, big thanks to James Owens, Kindig. The super chats are flowing tonight, and we appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Kindig. Thank you, James. That's awesome.
Much.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on here in this one, this planetarium. It's pretty amazing.
There is. Yeah. This was a good one. So it's just reminiscent, right? We just saw the Masonic lodges where they put the domes and the stars up above you. But hasn't anybody ever been to a planetarium or a planetarium, as they called it, where you go and you're sitting in the round, oftentimes, like they have depicted here, and you're looking up at a dome ceiling where they show you the constellations, and they're the same constellations that have existed for all of recorded history. But that's the biggest truth in plain sight that you can see when you're going to look into astronomy and different things. You end up going to one of these places at a museum or something like I went to growing up, and it never occurred to me, oh yeah, that's actually what we're looking at when we look at the night sky. The same kind of thing, a dome ceiling.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's why this works so well on these planetariums. I went to one of these when I was I think 6th grade, 5th grade, and I got such a migraine headache during this thing. I had to leave, and they took me to like the back employee room of the museum, and I laid in like the employees lounge and just had the worst like migraine. Ended up throwing up for 2 hours and then was sick for days. I don't know, man. I've never been back to one of these planetariums since. It just really messed me up.
Have you not yet? Threw off your equilibrium. The same thing happened to me at one of those, what was the movie theater where it's like a dome ceiling and you're watching
like an IMAX?
Yeah, IMAX. Same thing happened to me the first time I went to that. I threw up in the church camp van on the way back after that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Luke Zaders. He's saying, according to Jubilees, Noah divided the earth in 33 Jubilee. 33 squares. The United Nations logo is mocking Noah's division of the earth. I'll have to look at that. I'm not sure. I have to check that out.
In the 33rd Jubilee, Noah divided the earth. Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Too. Thank you, Luke. There was one other picture just to remind you guys, if you've ever been to a planetarium or one of these places, that's how they'll look. You got this circular room, dome ceiling every time. What's next on the agenda? Oh, speaking of planetariums, I found this one. So what do we see here, guys? Anybody in the chat, can y'all point out what would be interesting about this logo? And this is a real planetarium in Moscow. I want to say they said it's the oldest planetarium in Moscow, but this is their logo that they chose. So you got a flat singular baseline. And then how many lines are there above it?
7.
There is. And they're dome shaped.
7 domes.
How about that?
Isn't that wild?
It is.
It's like those Russians know something.
A lot of people seem to. Just not many people are speaking out about it.
Right. So, but if you can't speak, you can do sign language.
That's right. And our brother Drew Winter reminded us of this when we caught up with him at Take on the World 21 last year out in Ohio. It was one of the things he wanted to make sure to tell us, in case we didn't know, that I think I'm doing it right. Hold on, there it is. Maybe that is the signal, the hand sign for Earth, right? In ASL sign language. There you go.
Oh wait, you could take the middle finger? Yeah, the middle finger.
Okay, but the rocking, I think, is just like to symbolize there's a dome. It really seems like.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel like. Yeah.
Yep. They train to know how to do it. I'm not.
They do.
Familiar. Yep. So truth in plain sight everywhere you look, even in sign language. They're trying to tell you, hey, Earth is not, because they could do like this, or they could do this, or anything for Earth, right? But instead they'd make a dome shape over a flat hand. But yeah, we had another clip for you guys. We wanted to show you to set this up. This is a place in Sydney, Australia, where they have a whole park. It's called Darling Park. And man, if there's not just one thing, there's not two things, there's probably 4 or 5 separate aspects of this exhibit of sorts of this park that will just lead to anybody to conclude that they're trying to get a message across of some kind here. They're trying to get a message across. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Let's show the people.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Space may be the final
ever dreamed of going up to outer space? Or maybe meeting other beings from another place? Have you ever wondered what it's like on other planets? Then you watch a science show and come to believe you understand it? You feel empowered by the knowledge and you feel enlightened, listening to Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. But then you wake up and you start to see the obvious. Life is just a lie and this whole world ain't what we thought it was. NASA's missions to the moon were never completed. They just filmed them in a room and people believe it. I used to wonder what it's like to be an astronaut. Now when I see them acting, I can't help but to laugh a lot. They give us cartoons and they claim that we live on a ball, but it's flat and it's not moving or spinning at all. Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that, you're gonna have to pack up all your stuff and go. History has been rewritten by winners of wars. The Jesuit order, Khazars, Freemasons, and more. They pulled the veil over our eyes, and it's time to awaken. Through organized indoctrination, our minds have been taken. It's time we take our power back and we rescue our people. The Vatican and the bankers are like Resident Evil. They may have had the greatest plan that was ever concocted, but Illuminati never thought that they'd ever be spotted. They're manufacturing reality all in our heads. They tell us if the earth is flat, then we'll fall off the edge. But if it is a spinning ball, we won't fall off it then. And gravity is our imaginary magic friend. Why is water always flat when unmanipulated? Why are pictures of the earth computer generated? Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that,
Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that, you're gonna have to pack up all your stuff and go. Shout out ODD TV, great song there called Dear NASA. But yeah, what'd you think, Sean? They had the map fountain out in the courtyard. You go inside, and well, somewhere out there they have this clock that's like an astrolabe / planisphere star chart, right? You had that,
yeah.
And you go inside, and they have another flat clock, azimuthal equidistant map clock on their wall by the stairs. And then from there, you take a left, and you look up in this foyer or whatever they call it, and they have a massive dome ceiling, circle up in the middle, and there's constellations, you know, the fixed constellations like painted and represented all on this dome ceiling. So it was just over and over everywhere you look at that place, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they're just putting it right in your face, just like they do with a lot of their symbolism. But because they feel pretty confident in their indoctrination of the masses over the last 100 years, they don't care. They just do it, right?
They do. Yep.
Just like you talked about Revelation of the Method earlier, right? They want to mock you by showing you how they're lying to you, but they don't respect you unless you are wise enough to realize what they're doing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. They think that, you know, if you don't get it, then it's your fault, and it's, you know, you're too stupid to realize. So joke's on you is how they act about it, right? But Australia is familiar of these kind of concepts, right? They're familiar to it. They're no stranger to the idea of these kind of truths being put in plain sight. What was this restaurant that you had on the next slide?
Yeah, this is pretty awesome.
It is. It's called the Dome Cafe. Dome Cafe. And literally there's like, it's a chain of restaurants or coffee shops really out in Australia, and they have them in other places around the world too. I found out. I thought it was just a one mom and pop shop. It's not a one-off though. There's 60, 70 locations of this place. And in nearly every one of them, they have, I like how the dome, their logo on the O, it's got a roof over the O. So there's that. Yeah. And then on the ceiling in every one of them, they have this map in a domed shape
with 4 corners,
right? And if you go to the next one, some of the renditions they have are a little different, and they got DOME spelled out around at the corners, and look, there's little baby cherub angels.
Yeah, is that cherub angels or is that extra land?
Oh no, you don't see the little angel things on the by the
no, I'm sorry. I was looking at the interior, the blue and the paintings of the continents and everything, and I'm like, their ice ring seems kind of small. They looks like they got extra land depicted outside the ice ring.
There does. Yep. We know that the Rothschilds have a lot of real estate out there, so you never know what kind of pieces of land they have colored off here and what they're representing.
It's pretty interesting.
It is. There's
I've kind of always.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, just the different maps that are out there, and how sometimes the spacing and the placement of the continents will be a little different. The sizing of the continents will be way stretched compared to other ones. Excuse me. And there's, you know, sometimes they'll have Antarctica is shaped in different ways or placed in different locations, and it always fascinates me to try to figure out, okay, which one of these maps are they trying to show us is the closest to reality?
Right. Yeah, just statistically, like just the probability of but south of Hawaii, like if you took a line and drew it straight to the edge of the circle from the southernmost tip of Hawaii, I feel like there should be another massive landmass there, as opposed to all the empty space that whether it's a globular map or a flat stationary map, that just seems to be a massive area of no land that I'm thinking could be where there could be land. They just didn't want anyone to know about it, right? When they started drawing the maps.
Hey, it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if the trade routes were, connected Hawaii and thought, oh, here's, I don't know what islands are south of Hawaii, but to my knowledge, it's not any popular trade route maps or trade route islands that are south of Hawaii. So there wouldn't be a lot of incentive for the sailors to go that way if they didn't know there's possibly more land far south of Hawaii. It's just my speculation, but
right. Yeah. It makes you wonder, right? You got 2nd Ezra 6 talking about there's 6 parts of land and the 7th part is water, right? Earth divided into 7 parts, 6 parts land. But Ezra didn't provide us a map that I'm aware of to try to, illustrate that, to show us is the Antarctic Circle included in one of those 6 parts? Is there maybe another whole continent mass that is just being hidden from us? That is a possibility. I cannot deny.
Yeah, it's one of the things I would love to find out when the Father sends his son back.
Me too.
Can't
wait. Yes, it will.
What's
Speaking of
about?
restaurants, well, so this was a childhood favorite of mine. I'm sure many of you have probably seen this if you are a connoisseur of the Baja Blast.
Oh, wow.
But,
and you're still alive. That's great.
Yeah. Taco Bell will have this painting. It was a guy that painted this series of paintings that are all really kind of trippy and have a similar style, but it's as if they've put these in every location of Taco Bell because I've seen them statewide, nationwide. And at the bottom here, if you'll go to the next one, I've got it zoomed in to show what we're looking at on the bottom. How interesting. Because you have an AM and a PM in these circles, which could very much look to be like a sun and a moon under a dome in a dome enclosure. And look down at the bottom in the center, you got some funky lines coming up in a starburst shape out of the bottom. Makes you wonder.
What would you think that represents if you
maybe the northern lights coming out around the North Pole?
Okay.
I couldn't say for sure.
Interesting. You got the Mothman with the wings on.
Yeah, right. He's got like an astronaut helmet maybe with
He's
antenna.
got the wings of Nike. The wings of Nike on his helmet.
Okay.
That's a Greek god where we get the shoe Nike. So he had these little wings. Same thing with he had those on his shoes, but that was just to represent he could fly. And I'm pretty sure he was a depiction of, if I'm not mistaken, he was another incantation or depiction of Helios.
Yeah.
So who also flew through the sky in a chariot with horses. So
right. Yep. And they got him above the dome here.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it very much reminded me of a fallen angel looking thing, right? Like a rebellious angel kind of situation.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And then a lot of these, ironically, so this is Google. And if you ever go to Google, sometimes they'll have customized artwork that they'll have above the search bar, right? Or they'll have Google spelt out in a funny way, or they'll use an image or a painting to represent their logo. And here for like every year for a while, starting around 2015, 2016, 17, and there on Earth Day, specifically on Earth Day is where a lot of these came from. As you can see at the bottom right, they would consistently have this dome type shape or a circular flat disc of land with water falling off of it, or different ways of representing like Earth and letting you know that, hey, it's Earth Day, we're going to use this image. But specifically the one at the bottom center, I wanted to zoom in on the next slide, if you would.
Okay.
So what do you see, Sean?
Wow. Yeah, I see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. That's interesting. I see the gods of the firmament above, supposedly in the clouds or the top of the firmament. So this would be synonymous with the Greek mythos, a pantheon of gods. And I'm wondering if this is supposed to be a depiction of Mount Hermon.
Makes you think, right?
Yeah.
Because that is the mountain where the rebellious Watcher Angels had their agreement on, right?
Or it could also just be Mount Olympus, since they clearly have Zeus with the lightning bolt at the
Right.
center front. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
Oh,
thinking.
and there, my bad. There's Helios right there, second to the right. So, yeah. Okay. And then
There
you
it
got, oh, yeah, there is an Ares on the left, and you got Nike. And okay. Yeah, that makes
The
sense.
whole Greek pantheon. Yep. Google just put this up. And yeah, it's a few years old at least. But the only other thing, you pointed out everything that I could see, except for in the clouds on the sides, they've got 6 6s again.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
The way they like to do it, man. We should just hire that person to create artwork for us, because they clearly believe.
It's possible. I don't know, man. I'd rather hire Drew Winter. Drew Winter can take care of our
For
stuff.
sure, right? For sure.
So here's another one that's been out right in front of everybody's faces, and a lot of us probably grew up on their cartoons and movies and TV shows and channel and everything that they produced, because it's been a major part of pop culture for as long as we can remember. And that dome over there, right? The logo has this arch. A lot of times in their animation, they'll have like a shooting star forming it, but the top tower of their castle is pointing up through it every time. Reminds me of a certain tower that a certain beast was trying to make. And then if you look at their logo, right, their logo as well has 3 6s in it.
Yeah, it's right here.
Very prominent. I
And
thought
then,
this is a fan made creation for those of you. If you know, right? If you've seen Investigating Babylon, there is a shirt in the Uncommon Ground Teespring store that says Satan lives on the Death Star, but that's just another one of those things. If you know, you know. Yeah.
All right.
Disney's Tomorrowland. Here is their movie poster. Another time where a tower is poking up to an arched dome that they've conveniently placed in the artwork. And another tie into the Investigating Babylon, if you've seen that.
Yeah. What is that mysterious floating orb next to the tower?
What is it? Could that be representative of something that was really in existence, or is really in existence? That's the question. You'll have to watch Investigating Babylon to find out.
We also have Walt Disney and Werner von Braun, close companions and associates.
Yeah, they were affiliated, apparently, right? Here's just one of the times that they got together for a photo op in 1954. And they continued to use Disney in their propaganda as they began to form NASA right around that same time.
Yeah.
And allegedly go to the moon a decade or so later.
That's right. And of course, they were also tied in with Jack Parsons. So, yeah, this is, it's funny, Wes, because Nazis and occultists can smile too.
They can.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
They can smile.
Right. And
they can put on suits and push their hair back and look nice too.
Right. I heard a joke. A Nazi and an occultist and a pedophile go into a bar. The punchline is they create NASA.
Right.
But that's how it is. Yep, that is the reality. Maybe we'll get into the history of that sometime. But speaking of Werner von Braun, as we pointed out, we hadn't mentioned that he was the original appointed director of NASA when it was first formed. Now, Werner von Braun was a Nazi scientist brought over from World War II during Operation Paperclip. Weirdest thing, but they appointed him as the poster child at the time. I guess it was because of his dashing looks, or the fact that they knew he was going to put this on his tombstone. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know, but they definitely protected him his whole life, put him in a place of prominence, and he literally was an SS Nazi that was developing rockets for Germany. So this guy was, they protected him when they brought him over in Operation Paperclip. And then how interesting that on his death, whomever, and I wonder if it was his decision or just his family, who knows, right? But somebody put a very unique verse. Now so what's the most popular verse that preachers have preached throughout all of American history for the last 150 years? John 3:16, right?
Right.
For God so loved the world, he gives his only begotten Son, that you should not perish, but believe, have everlasting life. But Psalm 19:1 says, the firmament is the handiwork of the Creator.
Okay,
yeah. So why would they put that? That's crazy, Wes.
Why would they? The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork, is what Psalm 19:1 is. And anybody can verify. There's lots of pictures. Lots of people have independently gone out and taken photographs of his gravesite, where you can indeed see that that is inscribed. He doesn't have the whole verse written out, but he's just got that little, the address, location of the verse for anybody to go look up. And then it will lead you to wonder, because if you recognize the definition of the word firmament, it would lead you to wonder, okay, what is he trying to tell us? Or what were the people who made that tombstone try to tell us, right?
Yeah, it's super obvious. Just another mockery, in my opinion.
Me too.
It's so funny that you included chapter 2 when I was thinking of chapter 1 at the very end, where the piece of land is floated, the flat piece of land is floating in space, and that's what he has to get to talk to the little princess girl.
I didn't remember that. It's been forever since I've seen either of them, but I just thought, this
and she's crying. Man, I had such a crush on that little girl when I was a kid. I was like 7 years old. She's crying, Atreyu, give me my name. Yeah, it's I was just like screaming at the TV when I was a kid. Atreyu, say her name.
Right. I just wanted my own like dragon dog, white flying creature. That thing was cool. What was its name?
The big Falcor, man. We don't need our own Falcor.
Yeah.
Just a big, like a big Labradoodle mix that you just fly
Dragon
on.
Doggo.
Yeah.
But here it is, the Never-Ending Story 2, the next chapter. They've also got a tower. Now, this wasn't Disney. This was Warner Brothers, but it's all owned by the same 6 families who are in cahoots. So there's that. We got, so far we've looked at scripture. We've looked at some commercials. And here's video games. Fortnite. The entire time, if you or your kids have ever played Fortnite, it would be cool to know that there was a dome ceiling over this flat piece of land that you're playing on. It's a very addictive game, so a lot of your children probably are playing it, whether you know or not. But they've got a dome ceiling, and during one of their seasons here in the past couple of years, there was a whole story arc where they cracked that ceiling, and in one of them, after the crack, they even shot a rocket up at it and blew it to smithereens. Opened up the dome. So
we actually used this image in our one of our thumbnails for our man, I just went blank. For a series that Ken and I did. Yeah, the Road to Rescue. Yeah, the second one where we talk about the heavens. This is one of the I manipulated the image, but I used that crack. Oh, and somebody, Puzzle Penguin's talking about Artex. You don't talk about Artex. That's too sad, guys. We can't bring up old pain. He's trying to pull him through the mud, and he's like, Artex, why aren't you moving? Yeah, man, I cried when that horse died.
I do remember it being a very dramatic, dramatized, kind of emotionally compelling movie, right? It hooked you.
Yeah, man. That's just basically they're trying to scar as many kids as possible at a young age in the 80s. If you made it through the 80s as a kid with all the crazy movies that came out, like
in Labyrinth,
tough.
yeah, right,
all kinds of movies that were just absolutely not appropriate for kids, but anyway. So
Rat Rod Ramblin said Falcor was a wyvern, and they have them in Terraria. Yeah. Now you know.
Yeah, somebody's talking with marbles in their mouth, and
he just knows the lingo of that whole that literature and their world they created. We'll look at somebody else who had some literature in a world they created here shortly. It'll be really interesting. I'm excited to show you all that. But for now, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 came out in 2018, and one of the features they had for your guns, your weaponry, you could get these little keychains. They called weapon charms. And the designers of this game, this wasn't something that anybody could independently make. The actual designers of the game created this, and as you load it up on the screen, and even while you have it on your gun, the sun and the moon revolve and rotate there inside of the dome.
I mean, it's so blatant. It's just it's everywhere. They just put it everywhere because what's it gets? We had him on the program last year as a special guest, and he's got a theory that they're actually the powers that be are going to shift the narrative to include the biblical model of creation, but then of course just revert back to ancient Greek mythology and claim another person created instead of Yahweh. Because that's why he thinks that's why they're showing all this and revealing all this too, for the younger generations. So by the time they're 40 or 50, if they have a big alien reveal, and then they also include that model, and I'm like, so because essentially they will say, look, And we're gonna look at this in some of the movie clips later, where they're already putting into the minds of people like it could be an enclosed Earth, but you're still in a space setting.
They do.
See
They
what I
make
mean?
that. Yeah. They show us that a lot. They do.
Yeah. It is speculation.
It could be. I mean, nothing would surprise me anymore. The way that they'll tell you something and then turn right around and tell you the opposite, and then they'll do these controlled leaks. Whereas we saw from the commercials, right, in a short period of time, they were just putting this idea everywhere. They were telling people about this concept, even if in forms of mockery. They know that they're getting people to think about these things. But here's somebody that I'd like to imagine wasn't a part of any elite cabal. Do you remember Shel Silverstein?
Barely.
Well, so he had a series of books that were poetry for children, and my family had gotten me every one of the books at one point, right? And then this one book, Where the Sidewalk Ends, the title poem that he used right here, the illustration that he chose for that poem was also the illustration for the front of the book. And it says, Columbus said the world is round. Don't you believe a word of that? For I've been down to the edge of the world, set on the edge where the wild wind whirled, peeked over the ledge where the blue smoke curls. And I can tell you, boys and girls, the world is flat. Shel Silverstein.
Bars. Yeah. You got to wonder, because I don't know how old Shel Silverstein, I don't know his, the lifespan, but remember, literally just within 100 years in school, 100 years ago, people were being taught the biblical creation model, or at least that, whether they taught the extent of multiple firmaments, they at least taught that the Earth was a flat stationary plane.
He was born in 1930 in Chicago, Illinois, died in 1999.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
So he was young in a period of time where some people probably still believe this, and we're trying to tell people, hey, this lie they're coming up with is not the truth. But it's almost as if they're trying to do the same thing in some of these cartoons. So guys, if you are upset with us about trying to tell your children about biblical cosmology and the truth of creation, then you ought to see what some of the stuff they put in the cartoons for the kids these days. Back in 2017, there's a show called The Mojicons, right? Season 1, episode 1. They give you this guy, little emoji dude, looking out a telescope out the window. And while he's looking up at using a telescope during the daytime, it looks like he's got behind him this model with a sun and the moon in arches forming a dome.
His telescope is not pointed at the sky, by the way. So we're just going to ignore this creeper.
I know, right?
But there's a flat Earth model behind him, which is interesting.
There is on a footstool of sorts with pillars, huh?
Yeah.
That's what they got going on there. What are the cartoons and children's stuff? Okay, so who lives in a firmament under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
It was Sandy. Actually, Sandy lives in
that's
a firmament
right,
under the sea. But
She does. Sandy the squirrel, right?
Yeah. Yep. She's an astronaut. Is her occupation? She's a Texan from Houston, which is where they have the space station. And in this domed world, this biodome she has down there, she's even got a rocket next to it since she's an astronaut. And they have seasons inside of this dome. It's all set up to be like a underwater terrarium with waters above it. Let's show the people what else they're talking about in these cartoons these days.
Round, flat, round. Columbo, the world she's flat. The world she's around. She's flat. Look, King, she's around like the apple. She's flat like the pancake. Posta fazool. She's around, she's a firm, she's a full packed. She's around like my head. She's flat like your head. Biscuit tortone. What's up, Docs? I'm a disgust. Nobody believes the world she's around. She looks around to me, Doc.
Oh, boys, come here.
Queen Isabella.
If you can prove the world is round, Chris, I'll give you my jewels.
Ravioli. All the time prove. Approve a schmoove, she's around. Don't this spaghetti boil over, Chris? I'll prove it for you.
How you gonna prove?
I'll show you. No use changing all the history books just for little old me.
And curiosity often leads to trouble. Goodbye, Dinah. Goodbye. Goodness. What if I should fall right through the center of the earth? And come out the other side where people walk upside down? Oh, but that's silly. And come out the other side where people walk upside down. Oh, but that's silly.
Yes, a mutiny. The captain thinks the world is around, see? But we all know it's a flat, right?
Of course it's flat. Sure, I know the world is flat.
Yeah, so do I. Everybody knows that.
Good, good.
You see, my crew thinks the Earth is a flat, but we know it's around, right? Yeah, right. Sure, it's round.
Of course it's round. Yeah.
What town, sir?
What town? Why, that's easy. Now there's the whole flat world as we know it.
Life's exactly what you see.
Nothing is a mystery.
A rock's a rock, a tree's a tree. It's what I call reality.
Reality is so plain to see. It's right in front of me.
My reality is problem-free. I can see the world is flat.
The sky is round, can't argue that.
Can't argue that.
While we stand still here on the ground.
Still.
The bright circle goes round.
Reality
My reality
is no mystery.
is just what you see.
It's right in front of me.
There's no mystery.
My reality is plain to see. Reality.
Wow. Howdy, SpongeBob. How do you like it? What is it?
Sandy's tree dome is essentially an air-filled underwater habitat that could support mammalian life.
I'm going to the moon, SpongeBob.
Good day, gentlemen. We are the board of directors of Tree Dome Enterprises Limited.
I'm going to offer you a 20-year contract with a substantial pay rise.
It's a long fly ball going back. And the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
Forget it, Bart. It's so bright out you can't see anything in the sky except the Fox satellite.
Settle in.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
It's not a real rocket. It's the outside of a real rocket.
We did plan to build a real rocket.
And that's one thing they can never take away from us.
That plan is our legacy.
Then why did you move up the launch if you knew it was fake?
To inspire the next generation.
And to provide a distraction while we drove away.
To inspire the next generation. Huh.
I'll show you some technique.
Did you see that? My rock almost made it to the edge of the world.
The edge of what now?
The edge of the world, yo. Where the planet drops off.
Drops off? Wait, Beast Boy, you don't believe the Earth is round?
Mm-hmm. That's right. The Earth ain't round. It's a big old pancake.
Dun, da, da, da.
Your laughter only makes my belief stronger.
When did you become so dumb?
I ain't dumb. I'm a free thinker.
If you believe the Earth is a pancake, then what about the thousands of photos that clearly shows the Earth is round, like a basketball?
They's all fake.
They's all fake.
If the Earth is a pancake, then how do we get both day and night?
Because the sun is like a spotlight, and it moves around shining on one place at a time.
Okay, crazy.
But if the Earth is a pancake, why does not the water spill off the edges?
Yeah, water would spill right off into space. Ha ha ha! Explain that, Mr. Pancaked Earth!
2 words. Butter wall.
Butter wall.
Butter wall?
Seriously? A butter wall?
That's what I said, fool! There's a big old butter wall, and it circles the entire
How interesting that all of the friends are so eager to defend the ball.
Right.
Suddenly. Right? When kids say crazy things all the time and they just let it go, but this one, they got to start getting into it.
pancake Earth.
It's a whole episode. Yeah.
Keeps the water in.
Aha! Now you're catching on. You're beginning to see how reality really be.
This whole pancake Earth thing is just a fake, like the abominable snowman or global warming. Actually, Robin, global warming is real. Don't make me smack you.
No, it's not.
Okay, fine. Maybe I was wrong about global warming.
Global isn't even real.
So this right here mixed with the Flintstone clip we saw where they were on Columbus's ship, and then suddenly they had to change their tune because they were held at threat of violence.
Right.
It's
coercion.
It's literally telling them, look, we're going to hurt you if you don't believe what we believe. It's crazy.
Exactly.
If you was wrong about that, maybe you was wrong about pancake Earth.
I'll prove the Earth is round the old-fashioned way by sailing us around the world until we get to the other side.
Or until we find that good butter wall. You're on!
My favorite one had to be the land before time one, where my reality, it's plain to see the Earth is flat. The bright circle goes round. And
that's crazy.
Yep, the sky is a circle. They just spelled it all out, and they said down here on the ground we're standing still, but the bright circle goes around.
I think my wife would actually really enjoy an enclosed butter wall covering the Earth.
I would.
She started making her own homemade butter. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Y'all been making a lot of homemade stuff, right? It's become kind of a trend.
Man.
People are getting those ancient grains, returning to the ancient ways. Love it.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
It's a lot of fun.
So
that was a cool clip. So much indoctrination all the way back to the 50s in these cartoons. Little kids don't absorb it, don't know it. And what's funny, actually, as a kid, I remember seeing reruns of that 1951 Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's throwing the ball around the Earth, right? And it gets snapped from different places. I remember that as a little bitty kid, watching reruns of Looney Tunes and stuff. And I just never knew that's what they were indoctrinating me immediately.
No, right? If Bugs Bunny can throw a baseball and have it come all the way back around, and Flash and the Superman can have a race and they can run all the way around the Earth in a split second, then it's got to be a sphere. Yeah, that's the only way to do that, right?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, we learned differently growing up. And yeah, there's just a few of the cartoons, right? I really had to narrow it down to try to show you all the best of the best, but there's so many. This could be several episodes of just going through all the ways that pop culture has represented and shown these things, truth in plain sight style. But speaking of cartoons, you guys remember the funnies? That's what we called them, at least. You had the comics in the newspapers.
Yep.
That was a favorite pastime and with my grandmother and my mother when the newspaper would come in. We'd take a look at the funnies. And here's Dilbert in 1989. Yeah.
He just, my OCD goes crazy with Dilbert because I just want to straighten his tie.
Check it out.
So it says, you join the Flat Earth Society? And the dog says, I believe the Earth must be flat. There is no good evidence to support the so-called round Earth theory. I think Christopher Columbus would disagree. How convenient that your best witness is long dead.
It's a lot like when we try to talk to people about these concepts and they point to Eratosthenes, right? 2,000 years ago, Eratosthenes did a experiment with sticks and shadows. Well, even today, Neil deGrasse Tyson says that the same experiment would work and produce the same results if the Earth were flat, stationary, and with a small local sun.
Yep. Yeah, it's just... Oh, there's more Dilbert.
There was Dilbert on, the next day. That next paper, it says, so since Columbus is dead, you have no evidence that the Earth is round. And Dilbert says, look, you can ask Senator John Glenn. He orbited the Earth when he was an astronaut. And the dog says, so your theory depends on the honesty of politicians. Dilbert says, yes. No, wait.
Yeah. It's funny. Back in 2015, I had a good friend of mine that gave me this exact argument.
Mm-hmm.
He was like,
John Glenn.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, so you're trying to tell me that John Glenn, was lying? And I was like, bro, I'm trying to tell you that, wasn't John Glenn purported to be a Christian also?
Yeah. I mean, didn't they read during the Apollo missions? Didn't they read Genesis 1 while they were orbiting the moon? Come on,
So
Sean.
they claimed, right?
Mhm.
So that's where I'm like, dude, do you really believe everything they tell you? Like the Pope also claims to be a Christian and then supports LGBT, has a parade on his actual Satan throne for them, ends up supporting climate change agenda, which is going to enslave the world in forms of economic communism. Like, bro, we can't believe everything they tell us. You have to test what they claim.
Right. Yep. Pope wants to baptize demons. I mean, aliens.
That's right.
Yeah. So there you go.
Speaking of.
Yeah. Hey, hold on just a second. So funny story. My grandmother has probably the largest collection of Ziggies here in her office. I take care of my grandmother, right? My grandmother's been widowed for 2 years, and I am home here with her to take care of her in her property in her old age. She has the hugest collection of Ziggy stuff. I wish I could just pull it all down and show you guys how big this collection is, but take my word for it. Ziggy.
So
was
wait,
her favorite.
You're broadcasting from like a Ziggy's headquarters, surrounded by Ziggy's right now. Yeah.
In a lot of ways, yeah. There's shelves and shelves of them. And so Tom Wilson, right? Yeah, he's got this one where it's strange because there's what looks to be angels, and they're coming down on a spacecraft, and they just got done talking with Ziggy, and they say, "You won't believe the cosmology they've come up with." I like it.
That's great.
That's from my grandmom. Shout out. So another piece of literature a lot of people are probably familiar with. Many of you have probably at least seen one of the movies, extremely long movies, but J.R.R. Tolkien is how it's pronounced. Tolkien, right? Has a series called Lord of the Rings, but it didn't end there. He actually had a whole universe of literature where different stories are told within the same similar setting. And he had a collection of writings and literature that he had produced that was never even released during his lifetime. So post-mortem, his son then puts out some of these writings. And one of them is called the Embarkanta, which translates in the Elven language or whatever he's got there to Shape of the World. And the Embarkanta is a collection of cosmological essays, maps, and diagrams of Tolkien's conceptions of Middle Earth and the rest of Arda, which I believe Arda was just the name of the universe of the world, maybe, in his fictional setting for his stories. So from Christopher Tolkien's 12-volume series, The History of Middle Earth, in which he analyzed the unpublished manuscripts of his father, J.R.R. It goes on to say, so y'all see this this diagram here with the domed world. Vista, it's even got a underworld name, Ambar, and then even I can't read it, but even below that, there's another compartment named and labeled in Tolkien's
Vaya
conception of the universe. Well, Vaya is the name that he gave to these primordial oceans. Vaya is the waters surrounding the world. But there's just above where it says Vira, it's too small for me to read.
Martelman.
Yeah, something like that. That would be what I would compare to Tartarus, because there's Ambar would be like similar to Sheol.
Yeah.
So there's that going on. But if you go to the next slide, there's more on this. According to Tolkien's cosmological setting of his fictional universe, the changing of the world was an event in the late Second Age when, by Iluvatar, by his will, the whole form of Arda was changed from a flat world as it had been for many millennia to a round one during the downfall of Numenor. So, fun fact, Iluvatar is the supreme deity of the world J.R.R. Tolkien created. And so by his will, it says, the form of the world was changed from flat, as it had been for millennia, to a round one, a spherical one. And so I zoomed in here on this reproduction of his diagram on the next one.
That's speaking of changing things by your very own will and reproduction. That sounds very much like the modern alphabet soup agenda.
Right. Yep. So here it is labeled a little more, the Vira is the encircling seas, as it says at the top, and that reminds me of that verse in Peter, right?
Yep.
Waters around, and then a domed ceiling that's called the Path of Dreams. He's got it called. So fascinating stuff. Circles of the world before the change. So we've looked at literature, different publications, some magazine even. We've looked at some cartoons, commercials. Here's some music. John Lennon in 1981 has a song called Watching the Wheels. And would you read the lyrics to it, please?
He says, "Don't you miss the big time, boy. You're no longer on the ball. I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. I really love to watch them roll. No longer riding on the merry-go-round. I just had to let it go."
Now it
John
seems
Lennon,
right. Yeah, from the
before he
theme of
went
the
swimming.
song. Yeah. The theme of the song seemed to be like he was settling down into a family life and no longer doing the
Yeah.
on the ball of the game he was playing with the, being
Yeah.
famous. But the lyrics do have they have a certain ring to it that right, he's watching wheels go round and round in the sky, maybe even. And he's no longer on the ball, no longer riding the merry-go-round. He had to let it go. I can identify with that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of music, the Eurythmics, pretty popular group in the 80s. They had a song that they did a collaboration with. It was called Sweet Dreams, subtitled Are Made of These. It's been covered by quite a few artists, right? Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? This is the first 10 seconds or so of the episode or their musical video.
Yeah.
And it seems like they just had to put it out in plain sight where right before this clip where she's got on the projector behind her, she's got the globe. But right before that, there's a NASA space launch. And then immediately after this, there's another like footage of like a moon landing or something NASA related. And a globe on the desk. And right as she's showing these things, she's saying, "Sweet dreams are made of these."
That's crazy. I
It
never
is.
realized that this lead singer was Carrot Top's mother.
Yeah, she was
Pretty amazing.
popularizing that hairdo long before the LBGT agenda went strong. So there's that. Well, I don't know. They had some hairband guys that were pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
I think they were
effeminate.
setting the stage with Motley Crue and Poison.
Yeah.
And all of those
The
guys.
eyeliner and all of that. So here's something a little more modern, right? This is 2017. Imagine Dragons. You make me a believer. This was their song, and right there at the 2 minute and 59-second or 54-second mark, they do a close up on the one eye, of course, and right there in the center of that eye, unmistakably, the continents laid out in the azimuth equidistant fashion, looking like a map.
Yep, it's pretty noticeable if you know what that looks like. Yeah,
right. And
pretty
2017 and 2018 was a big couple years for these kinds of things to just be pushed as an agenda, almost, right? Like a controlled leak. There was a quote from a dictator. I forget the name of him, but he was like, the best way to lead to control an opposition is to lead it. And so they like to get in front of things and make sure that it becomes an article of division and mockery. So I believe that's part of why they were pushing it in these commercials and hiding it in TV shows and movies all over the place, like they were heavily in 2017 and 18.
Yep. And at the exact same time, you had Susan Wojcicki, or whatever her name is, the CEO of YouTube, going before Congress to openly declare that they were going to start censoring anything that went against the global narrative, anything that promoted an FE narrative. They were going to start censoring it. So at the same time, they've got major record labels. I don't know who does Ariana Grande. I think it's Sony or something, but major record labels putting out these same instances, these same concepts, all this imagery and movies and everything, Hennessy commercial. So yeah, it's just like you talked about at the very beginning, right? The revelation of method, right? So they're, on one hand, they're doing it right in your face. On the other hand, they're telling you, that's not what we're doing. That's not, in fact, you by threat of force, removing your livelihood from YouTube, we're going to tell you not to talk about this, but we're going to show it to you all day long.
Yeah. Only when they say it's okay, right? Do as they do, not as they say, or do as they say, not as they do. That's how they act about it. But yeah, you mentioned Ariana Grande. So this was the music video for so-called God, little G God is a woman. And that song got on my nerves so much. Every time I heard it, I had to change it anytime I would hear it. But yeah, so in this scene, which is like a little cutaway scene in the middle of her music video, she's got Madonna reading a line from Pulp Fiction as if she's the god of the song or something. And then at the same time that's going on, Ariana's dressed kind of like Thor, kind of like something like that. And she's got Thor's hammer of sorts. And she throws it up. And if you'll go one slide over, you'll see that hammer shatters this domed glass ceiling. Throws the hammer and shatters it. Reminds me of what was the Hillary Clinton was going around in her female empowerment speeches that she was doing, talking about, we got to break that glass ceiling. She'd say that over and over again. And this was very much about it. Women's empowerment was the idea behind the song they were trying to go for. And they're breaking the glass ceiling, but it's always similar to like that, what am I trying to go for here? They put on this, the Hunger Games too, right? They just they got this concept of empowerment means shattering a glass ceiling somehow.
Right. It's all the mindset, the ideology of ancient Babylon, trying to get into that firmament. Just like Fortnite showed you, the whole purpose in that same year or the year before it was to break the dome.
Right.
Trying to get through it.
Over and over again in your face. What else we got?
Okay.
Oh, as seen on TV. Oh, there's a few more slides here before the clip. So I wanted to break down this episode for you. Have you personally seen this, the Orville?
No. People have recommended it to me because they say I look just like Seth MacFarlane, but I haven't watched this yet.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting. Let's see. I had something written up on it, and now it's gone, isn't it? But yeah. So this is season 1, episode 4, and Ed and crew are, Seth MacFarlane plays Ed. He not only directs and created this show, he also stars in it. And so he's the captain of this sort of ship. Here it is. So this is a modern comedy, sci-fi, Star Trek type show created by and starring Seth MacFarlane, same dude that does Family Guy, right? He plays the captain of a Federation starship patrolling the universe. And in episode 4 of season 1, he and his crew encounter a massive domed vessel adrift in space and in danger of colliding with a star. Would you go to the next slide? When they board the ship, they find out that there's a 2,000-year-old civilization of people who have no idea that they're inside of a domed, enclosed world. Right, the people aren't themselves 2,000 years old, but the group of people, the culture has existed on this ship for 2,000 years. So it's been so long, and the leadership has been corrupted, or whatever the case. As if you watch the episode, you'll see that was the case. They've now been deceived into believing that this is the world that they live in, and that this is all there is. And they see the dome ceiling over their heads, but they still have no idea that there's more. Or they don't understand the reality of this. They've only been raised inside of that. And the leaders of this world, go to the next slide. Their system of government, this culture inside of this domed enclosed world, their system of government is described as a dictatorial theocracy, right? It's got a dictator, and it's based on a theocracy, a religion of sorts. And their culture is painted as hyper religious and ignorant of reality, as I stated. And the leaders of their world have enforced their religion with their own scriptures, they mention. And there's these reformers talking about how we've begun to doubt the scriptures. There's a group of us who doubt the scriptures, and the leaders here would say that we're in heresy for doubting them. And, they're saying these kind of things. And the leaders of the world have enforced their religion with their own scriptures, and by propaganda, force, and public execution, they would even do to, disrupt and cause the public to not want to join the reformers. And so they're convincing the populace that the world they live in is all there is. But when the Orville crew come with their warning of impending doom, they're met with hostility and accused of heresy. Would you go to the next one? Excuse me. But a group of rebels called the Reformers help them to overthrow their religious dictator. And at the end, they open up the sunroof of the biodome. As it splits open from the middle, and everyone aboard sees where they really live. There's one more slide if you'd show them. Look at that. And it even has these upturned edges with like mountainous ends on the circle of their world here. And look at that dome just opening over like the Astrodome, splitting open like a sunroof.
It's a great scene there. Yeah.
It is, but they've and put some truth in plain sight, and they've also kind of twisted the message, of course, because they've got this
Sure.
this domed world floating through outer space, and the people aren't convinced of this truth. They don't realize that they live in a flat world with a dome, but their religious leaders have not told them the truth about this. So it's so backwards, and it's like a Gnostic perversion that they're using in this story that they're telling.
Yep, that's amazing. But the funny part is, what an interesting concept to borrow from.
Right.
It's pretty crazy.
It is. But they put the lies in the news and the truth in the TV shows and the movies. So we have a clip. Wait, was that the TV shows one? Yep.
Yeah.
We got a clip here for some TV shows, you guys. We looked at the cartoons, the commercials. It's TV show time. Grab the popcorn. Let's check it out.
But you don't believe in evolution?
Nah, not really.
You don't believe in evolution?
I don't know. It's just, monkeys, Darwin. It's a nice story. I just think it's a little too easy.
Too easy? The process of every living thing on this planet evolving over millions of years from single-celled organisms is too easy?
Yeah, I just don't buy it.
Excuse me. Evolution is not for you to buy, Phoebe. Evolution is scientific fact, like the air we breathe, like gravity.
Oh, okay. Don't get me started on gravity.
You don't believe in gravity?
Well, it's not so much that, I don't believe in it. It's just, I don't know, lately I get the feeling that I'm not so much being pulled down as I am being pushed. Uh-oh, it's Scary Scientist Man. Hey, look, before you even start, I'm not denying evolution, okay? I'm just saying that it's one of the possibilities.
It's the only possibility, Phoebe.
Okay, Ross, could you just open your mind like this much? Okay? Now, wasn't there a time when the brightest minds in the world believed that the Earth was flat? And up until, 50 years ago, you all thought the atom was the smallest thing until you split it open and this, whole mess of crap came out. Now, are you telling me that you are so unbelievably arrogant that you can't admit that there's a teeny tiny possibility that you could be wrong about this?
There might be a teeny tiny possibility.
Can't believe you caved.
What?
You just abandoned your whole belief system. No, I mean, before I didn't agree with you, but at least I respected you. How are you going to go into work tomorrow? How are you going to face the other science guys? How are you going to face yourself? That was fun.
Are you a potato?
As sure as the world is flat.
Right before your surgery, I asked if you had packed your cell phone, and you said, which one?
When? Skylar, I was medicated. I mean, I could have said the world was flat.
You know what I think? I think you accidentally told the truth.
Let's make...
Are we back on, brother?
Are we back on? I don't think so. No, it looks like everybody's saying that they've suspended the stream, but it will come back on. So, and keep in mind that all this will still be available to watch as if nothing happened after the stream. So, yep, this is part of the censorship, but I knew going into this, I was honestly surprised that they hadn't already done that earlier. I figured it would happen once at least when we're going through it. So I didn't mean to mention that if you would kind of pause it and let's treat it like we're reviewing these clips reaction style. However, I know from watching you before that doesn't even help necessarily. But
One time I paused it like every 20 seconds and they still pulled it.
Golly. Yeah. On a Joe Rogan podcast interview of all things, even I watched that happen to you. So no doubt that it would be right. Yeah. No doubt that it would be happening on this one. So we only made it through Friends before they did it, huh? Didn't even make it through that one. Y'all let us know in the chat if you see us pop back up. But just go ahead and keep going. Might as well.
Okay, here we go.
New friends. Let's open up our world. You know what? I don't want to open up our world. I want to close our
leave
world.
Leave us on screen, Megan.
Build a dome over it.
So
If you don't want to meet a new.
So they want to build a dome over it.
Yeah. He wants
New
to
people, why'd you agree to go out with them? Because Carrie can't know about the dome.
You know how everybody believes the world is flat, like a pancake? Well, they're all wrong. The world is actually round, like an orange.
They could have easily doctored the moon landing footage, just like they show us photos where the Earth looks round when it's definitely flat.
And we got there. Marcus, let's talk this out. I think that the Earth is round because of science.
Ugh.
Like if you stand on a dock and you watch ships sail away, they eventually disappear over the horizon.
You've done that? Put on your little pea coat and stood on a dock for hours until ships disappear?
A little pea coat.
Well, I mean, scientists have.
But you haven't, because you're afraid of what you would find out.
Oh, so the whole episode was called Conspiracies, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
It was a funny show. I don't even watch Superstore, and I checked out that episode. And it was kind of funny.
That's funny. I've never even heard of that show. It's already in season 6 already. That's wild.
Right. Man, they still haven't put us back up.
They still haven't put us back up yet, have they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My wife came in and asked me. Well, in the past, they've talked about.
Well, so for those watching this back, yeah, we're still waiting for the stream to be put back up live. But worst case scenario, this will be available for you guys to watch. If you're hearing my voice, you're probably watching this after the show.
Yeah. Interesting.
Here we are. We're back on. Cool.
And we're back.
Yes, we are. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Yep. We figured this would happen. So thank y'all for staying tuned in. We love you guys. Caitlin Squirsk is in the house. Lisa Sevier. King Dome is here. Bruce P. Pat Bolduck, what's happening? And Carmen Unlimited. Country Fun. Country Dad. Jamie Hone. Budgie Girl 24. There's so many names that I don't necessarily recognize, but Vader Bear's here. Much love to you guys. Yeah, that was the TV clips. So when you watch this back, you'll probably be able to see a little bit more, but we'll probably go ahead and cut that off because we got some more to cover and we're running a little long. So what's next on the slides, if you would, please, brother? We've covered a lot of things. Now we're going to look at an airport because George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston has the same logo as a couple of the other Houston airports, as well as the Houston Spaceport also shares the same exact logo of a supersonic wing design plane looking going up through a dome, through an arch.
Wow.
But that's not the most interesting thing about this airport, because if you go inside the George Bush Intercontinental Airport, you have a dome ceiling, and this is called the country music tree, I believe. I'm not sure why they chose, other than when you go in there, they have this country music album on repeat. I think the exhibit is sponsored or something by a country music group. But
is it Garth Brooks? I got friends in low places. Like
no.
Okay,
that's funny though. But no, they even have Houston as the center of the earth here, which we don't believe is reality. But there is a dome ceiling. And in other pictures I didn't have time to put in, there is the same circle in the center of the dome.
Interesting.
Yeah. JFK, Air Force One, on his version of Air Force One. They've had several of those different planes, right? But during 1961 to 1963, before he was assassinated, they had this map, which is another one of those interesting maps. Here's one where they actually have the continent of Antarctica actually represented at the bottom.
Yeah, that is interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I see
shape,
that.
kind of funny, and then Australia is like in a different size and shape and all so many different maps, because they have Australia up here on the top left, really stretched out. So it's an interesting projection style map that they have. If you go one more over, I have it zoomed in to show. They have these funky ley lines that's hard to tell, but these different lines that are like circling aside from the circles that are most easily seen. But you'd have to be able to zoom in. Yeah, you can look that one up and look at that map.
Since it's an airplane, that could be like high altitude wind. You know, they call it wind. What are they called?
The trade winds.
The trade ones, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
Yeah,
who knows?
For sure. So something a little more modern for movies, right? Looking at movies now, we have Bad Teacher. I know it looks like an older black and white clip, but this was the first 10 seconds of the movie Bad Teacher. And they had a teacher pulling down the screen that she has. And there's another flat map on that one. What's next? Oh yeah. It's all over in so many different movies. I just couldn't make a slide for every one of them. But
right.
In Journey to the Center of the Earth, which is ironic to have that map in the background. And then in iRobot, you have both a flat map and a globe right next to each other in the back of this scene where Will Smith is in an office. In Catwoman, they had to put that map back in the right. It's the same map as was in iRobot, just like they did with Back to the Future, and Get Smart. This is the opening credits of Back to the Future. You'll see in the garage laboratory that the Doc had. He's got this clock, which is the map. And then it's the same one in Get Smart. And it looks to be maybe even the same one in Apollo 13.
So Hollywood is recycling the same flat Earth depicted map in these movies that are decades apart. That's really weird.
Just got to put it in the background, right? Like the elephant in the room, almost. Here's a movie called The Party by Peter Sellers in 1968, and the elephant in the room literally was painted. This poor elephant. I hope it was removable and easily removed paint off this poor elephant. But they've got "The World is Flat" painted right across its head.
Wow.
Yeah. The world is flat, boss. So here's a movie from 2017. It's called How to Get Girls. I didn't personally watch it. I'm taken. I don't need to know. But How to Get Girls, this coach or teacher or whoever is grabbing a kid by the neck, walking him down the hallway.
Maybe you watched it in 2017 and that's why you're currently taken.
Maybe so. I actually haven't seen the movie, but there's this poster here in the class or in the school hallway. It says join the Flat Earth Club. And then it says open your mind right underneath it.
Wow.
So
it's crazy.
Just right there in a split second, it was probably less than a second, this appeared on the wall in the background of the movie.
You know, that's interesting. Would they allow in public high schools, would they allow kids to have a Flat Earth Club, a hobbyist club like that?
It's possible.
That's interesting.
I bet they would discourage it. But speaking of flat worlds, every Marvel Cinematic Universe movie you've seen, especially the Thor movies, this was part of their universe, is this Asgard, which is a part of Norse mythology, Norse cosmology, right?
Yeah.
They've got Asgard represented as a flat world with looks to be kind of a dome situated in there somewhere too.
Yep.
But they've got that going on.
Yeah, and they got the Rainbow Bridge is what gets you there, right? Which is an arched substance that is reflective of the multiple layered domes of creation. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, 7 colors in that there rainbow.
Yeah,
we've come to the end of the presentation, so we made it with only getting taken off one time, but we're gonna see what happens here. Regardless,
again.
Yeah, let's see what happens, man. I should have made a slide where it had the fair use policy notice, right. Invoking the Copyright Act, as well as we want to state that outright for any YouTube police that might be watching. We want to invoke our right to the fair use of Copyright Act, so that we are able to, in a journalistic way and in a way where we cover the things that are already on YouTube on many other channels. These things exist. Right. And they don't even give you like a copyright strike. They'll put a copyright claim and they say you can't monetize the video if you use this. But it seems silly that they would pull us off the air. But we don't have prepared tonight a outro song. But what we would like to do is to try to get through this last clip of the movies. If you would play that for us here in a second. Otherwise, Sean, let's go out on some closing thoughts. What do you have to say to the people?
Well, we could have this particular this particular thing could have been 5 hours, this particular episode. WesBlaze and I shared so many pictures and images, scenes from movies, trying to figure out what's the best thing that could possibly be included in here. Like the imagery is just layered everywhere. But if you don't know your Bible, you'll never see it. That's the biggest thing we always try to remind people is, you got to start reading your Bible. And if you're watching out there and this is maybe your first time to see us talking about these things, we didn't cover a lot of scripture tonight, but check out our other episodes where we do cover lots and lots of scripture and show you where these ideas come from that the world is layering as symbols into their media, their arts, entertainment, their publications, their decorations for world leaders. Like, I mean, it's just the world, you know, it's something crazy that the people that rule the world, they all have a secret and they know the truth of the creation. They just are following an ancient religion of Zeus worship, of Ra worship, and they attribute the grand architect to being the all-seeing eye, the false god that the Hebrew Bible refers to as the Satan character. This is why it says the whole world wonders after, you know, the dragon in Revelation 13. And so they already know this information and they layered into all these things as symbols. And we're just showing you their symbolic language, basically. We're trying to be interpreters for you to help you understand what you're looking at. But it's going to be extra difficult to know what we're interpreting for you if you've never read your Bible or you've never taken the words in your Bible for what they actually say. Because that was a huge problem I saw WesBlaze growing up in church, and I myself did that. The moment that I started hearing the theistic evolution argument versus the 6 literal days of creation, I immediately started trying to reinterpret Genesis 1 to fit into an evolutionary model because I was peer pressured into that belief system. And I thought I would be ridiculed, mocked, and made a fool if I actually believed it's 6 literal days of creation. So I started trying to do mental gymnastics and theological gymnastics to make an evolutionary model fit into what the words do not say. And I was wrong for doing that. So later in my life, I learned I was wrong for also not taking seriously the concept in Genesis 1 of the firmament, which some of the symbols that we've described to you and shown to you, all these films, media, and education. And what it's right behind Wes in his background image. You know, it's just what the Bible describes, that we are in a huge, beautiful house. And so I would just want to encourage folks to read their Bible, believe what the words say. Because remember, we don't want to go after things that we don't have to go after the world and what they call wisdom and end up being fools because we disagree with the Creator. So that's all I got.
That's right. Yep. Very well said, brother. I appreciate those closing thoughts. Yeah. So in case you haven't noticed a lot of these, hopefully we've compiled a good resource for you to be able to see, to show other people, hey, these kind of things have been hidden in plain sight right under our nose. And oftentimes they'll say that is the best way to hide something right out in true, plain sight, to where people think that it's fiction passed off as artistic expression or whatever the case. But really, they're using their signs and symbols to let you know they're deceiving us, and they're laughing at us while they're deceiving us. And it's sad, but it's a great way to show people, hey, all your favorite movies, TV shows, cartoons, commercials, everything you've been looking at since you were young, and they've been trying to show you. And we're either smart enough to recognize it, we know enough to understand what's going on, or we're not, is what they're counting on. But hopefully, as resources like this continue to be developed, you guys will have those to be able to check out. So definitely go back and see season 1. I'd recommend all the way back from episode 1. Binge watch this. So you've seen stuff on Netflix where you'll sit and binge watch an entire season, or 3 or 4 or 5, whereas this is wholesome content. Nothing out of left field that's going to be something where you can't feel like you can show your children. But we want you to be able to share this with any and everybody.
Except for maybe the Amber Heard poop comment. But other than that, guys, it's very family-friendly content.
Yeah, we try to be. Yep. So that's that. Otherwise, we hope to see you guys next week. We look forward to the topic that we're going to cover next. That'll be a surprise. Check out the links in the description below this video if you would, because you'll find links to be able to contribute. A lot of people have wanted to support and asked ways that they could support us and what we do here. We'd love your contribution. We'd put it towards getting the gospel of the kingdom out there, getting the gospel of that Jesus preached, right? The gospel of the kingdom of God. We want to get you guys familiar with that. We want to show you the setting that it all takes place in. We want to show you how each constituent element relates to God's overall plan of salvation for mankind. So check out those links, become a Patreon subscriber if you would, as well as check out the exclusive bonus behind the scenes content we've got on the Patreon. And don't forget, USB jump drive available. Minimum donation of $49 is all it'll take to have your very own hard copy jump drive of season 1 of Uncommon Ground. But with that being said, we ask that you bless the Father. May he bless you. We thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you don't tune out. And y'all check out some movie clips we're going to show you guys. But we love you. Thank you guys for joining us. And y'all have a good one. Thank you, Sean.
This world is not what you think it is. You want the truth? You
can't handle the truth!
Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Who's gonna do it? You? I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom.
The first Flintstones movie.
Okay, Brother Flintstone, we need a strike to win. Can you do it?
Is the Earth flat?
The Flintstones. Viva Rock Vegas.
I've never met anyone like Bernard Rubble. He's so loyal and so sweet. He makes me feel like I'm the only girl in this whole flat world.
Men in Black.
1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat.
500 years ago is when the Jesuits started pushing heliocentrism. The Truman Show. A movie called Just Friends says this very strange line out of nowhere.
It's cold out here.
Yeah, it is. It's like the South Pole.
It's like the deep South Pole, if there was one. There isn't, though.
The Hunger Games.
Force field. It's a dome. We're at the edge of the arena.
The Giver.
Plan for sameness. Another trick?
Actually, no.
It's some kind of map.
Mars Attacks.
Human action resounds in the heavens. The bell echoes above. What we decide here today will polish or crack the firmament.
The film Dark City begins with our protagonist, John Murdoch, waking up alone in a strange hotel with amnesia. He then soon finds out that he is wanted for multiple murders. While trying to unravel the mystery of his past, he discovers a group known as the Strangers. Murdoch learns that the Strangers alter reality on a nightly basis. They inject new memories into the minds of the people in the city. Murdoch finds out that he is trapped in the city along with everyone else. The Strangers have trapped them to alter their memories in order to conduct tests on them in hopes of discovering what is unique about humans. They believe if they discover what is unique about humans, they might be able to save their own dying species. At the end of the film, we discover that the city is this huge spaceship in which there is no escape. The film closes on John after having killed all the Strangers talking to the woman that he learned is not actually his wife. While at first, this seems like a happy ending, it's actually a bittersweet one. While he is free of the Strangers, he's still trapped in the fictional city, which plays into the film's meaning. Throughout the film, the lead characters become aware that they are in a fictional reality with implanted memories, yet it doesn't change their feelings for one another. The film can also be interpreted as a metaphor of what it must feel like to live under a dictatorship. Much like the protagonist discovering the truth of his oppressed existence. The truth is, when people discover they are being oppressed, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are free of said oppressive regime. It's what they do with that information that matters.
The stars will not fall.
Oh, really?
No, because they're fixed to the lid of the chest. The lid will open in two halves and then Jesus will appear. What chest are you talking about?
Don't you know that the universe is a gigantic chest? Heaven is the lid on top, and the earth, the ground below.
They haven't told this fool that the earth is round. The earth is flat.
Your head is flat.
Read the scriptures. If the earth is round, why don't the people at the bottom fall off? Huh? And what about the ones on the sides? Why don't they slide off? Think about that.
Devus knows. Hey, brother, what do you say? Is the earth flat or round?
Only God knows those things.
Oh, oh.